Let's be real. Buying a home, selling a business, or developing property, these are huge moments in life. They're super exciting, of course, but wow, do they come with a mountain of paperwork and legal hoops to jump through. It can be just incredibly stressful. So today we're going to break down how one firm is trying to turn all that legal complexity into simple clarity.
Does this look familiar to you? You're just staring at a contract, it's filled with all this dense legal language, and you're thinking, am I missing something huge here? It's a totally common feeling, that sense of being completely underwater when the stakes are just so high.
And you know, this is exactly why. All of a sudden, you're expected to speak a whole new language. You've got terms like PEXA being thrown around, which, by the way, is the online property settlement platform, and it just feels like you're trying to find your way through a maze in the dark with no map.
So let's officially call it the transaction maze. This is that complicated, confusing world of property and business law that sooner or later every buyer and seller has to try and navigate.
Now, what's really telling here is that this isn't just me saying this. This quote comes straight from the experts themselves, AJ Conveyancers. They actually start by admitting the core issue. Yeah, this whole thing is stressful by its very nature.
So if you're stuck in a maze, what's the one thing you really need? A guide, right? You need someone who knows every single twist and turn and can lead you right to where you need to go.
And that is exactly the role AJ Conveyancers steps into. Their whole mission, their entire reason for being, is built on this one simple promise: to take these overwhelming, stressful transactions and just make them simple for you. And they cover a ton of ground. We're talking the whole shebang, from your standard property sale all the way to the nitty-gritty details of business sales, subdivisions, and commercial leases. And here's the kicker. They do this across 2 different states, Victoria and South Australia, and each one has its own unique playbook.
Okay, so that's the big promise. But how do they actually pull it off? Let's dive into a few real-world examples of the complicated legal stuff they decode for their clients every day.
Hey, remember that weird term from before, Form 2? Well, this is it. If you're selling a small business in South Australia, this document is an absolute must-have. Its whole purpose is to lay all the financial cards on the table to protect the person who's buying the business. So really, it all boils down to 2 things: transparency and protection.
So instead of just dumping a pile of forms on your desk, they manage the entire process for you. First, they prep it all professionally, making sure every single detail is spot on. Then, they bake it right into the main sales contract. And finally, they're with you all the way through to settlement. It's a clear, straightforward, managed path.
And this slide right here is a perfect example of why their expertise is so valuable. The rules are not the same everywhere. What's called a Form 2 in South Australia is known as a Section 52 statement over in Victoria. Knowing these local differences isn't just helpful, it is absolutely crucial to make sure your deal is legally solid. All right, let's tackle another tricky area: property subdivisions. This is so much more than just drawing a line on a piece of paper. We're talking about a huge range, from a simple split of a backyard to a massive, multi-stage development project that could take years. And they've got experience across that whole spectrum.
And hey, the proof is in the pudding. Here you have a client who specifically calls out their expertise and attention to detail as being invaluable for their project. You can't get a better stamp of approval than that. Now, here's a little nugget of info that could save you a world of hurt. The laws have changed, and registering commercial and retail leases, it's not optional anymore. It is absolutely mandatory. This was done to make things more transparent and protect everybody, but it means if you're not compliant, you could face some serious problems down the road. It's exactly the kind of quiet rule change that can totally trip people up.
So how do you avoid that risk? Well, you have a team that is constantly on top of it, making sure you're compliant, prepping all the paperwork, and staying ahead of any new changes. They handle all the back and forth with agents and brokers, so you don't have to lose sleep worrying about it.
So this all kind of brings us to their overall philosophy. We've seen what they do, but how do they deliver that clarity and peace of mind over and over again? Let's take a look at their method. It really boils down to these 4 pillars.
You've got an experienced team that knows the law backwards and forwards. A laser focus on what you, the client, actually need. Deep local knowledge. And finally, smooth, seamless coordination with everyone else involved in the deal.
And let's dig a little deeper on that local knowledge piece. As you can see, we're not just talking about knowing the general law. We're talking about understanding the specific regulations, the unique requirements, even the kind of unwritten rules of local councils and markets in both South Australia and Victoria. That level of detail makes a world of difference.
And here we go again. Check out this feedback from Mark and Lisa. It hits on pretty much all of those pillars we just talked about. Professionalism, great communication, and a commitment that made everything smooth and hassle-free. That's the method in action, right there.
Okay, so let's bring it all home. We started this journey lost in a maze of stress and confusion. So where do you end up after you've had an expert guide to lead you through?
Well, the result is the polar opposite of where you began. You end up with a transaction that's not just smooth and legally perfect, but is actually free of all that stress and anxiety we talked about at the beginning. That's the real payoff.
I absolutely love this last quote from Emily, who was a first-time homebuyer. She used the word enjoyable. Just think about that for a second. Taking one of the most famously stressful things you can do in life and making it not just manageable, but enjoyable? I mean, that really says it all.
And that really leaves us with this final question to chew on. When you're making these massive financial decisions, the service isn't just about checking off legal boxes. It's about feeling confident, having clarity, and being calm through it all. So the real question is, what kind of value do you put on genuine peace of mind?